Hey folks, thank you for joining us again for another exciting episode of YOML. This is the Year of Multiple Learning podcast. Today we're doing part two of the book, The Year of Yes, How to Dance It Out, Stand in the Sun, and Be Your Own Person by Shonda Rhimes. As Chris was saying, she's supposed to be this famous writer that I don't know about, but nonetheless, let's see what reflection comes today.
Yeah, I'll give you a picture of her. So Shonda Rhimes is, as you learned yesterday, a famous.
She's talking about a famous person. Right?
Shonda Rhimes is a famous writer of Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, Scandal, kind of some of the biggest shows out there in general. She's like a wicked famous writer, basically. Bridgerton. You ever heard of Bridgerton? That was her new. That was a Netflix. During COVID, that was like the it show.
Oh, really?
That was massive. My wife, dude, I can't even begin to tell you. If you've never seen Bridgerton, it's about like 18th century or something like that. Bridgerton is an American historical fiction romance streaming television series written by Shonda Rhimes. It's set against the backdrop of the Regency era. It's like high society in London. It's basically like, kids that are like, courting each other in high society London back in like the 1800s or something like that. And it's kind of racy. You remember when they did Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes? Do you remember that when they like remade it and they kind of made it kind of like pop culture-y and a little more hip and cool and stuff like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, 18th century kind of like London where it's like still cool and hip and they use fun, cool, hip language and it's kind of a little racy, but it's like, still courtships going on all over the time and proper. But here's the trippy thing about Bridgerton, right? This was like the breakout show of COVID, man. Like, I mean, it was massive. And there's some like weird sex scenes in it, like really weird sex scenes in it. And like, you don't really expect it coming because you're just watching, you think like, you're like, oh, this is like a little, kind of teen love story, whatever, kind of one of those kind of shows. And then it gets like real weird and gross and sexy, kind of stuff, right? Going on. So my mother-in-law was in town for Christmas. This came out during like Christmas break, and my wife is really into the show. And I'm sitting in this room, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were in town, staying in my house. And they're all watching Bridgerton, and then there's straight up sex scenes going on in front of me, where I'm sitting there with them, and I'm just like, this is the most awkward thing that I've ever been around in my life. Is watching this with my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my wife, just all sitting there eating popcorn. Shonda Rhimes is a good writer, bottom line, really wraps people up in her writing. This particular reflection is part 2 of 2. The first one was about Jenny McCarthy, her nanny, who helped her to live her life of values. This book was all about her saying yes to herself for a year, basically, of reigniting her curiosity and her willingness to figure out who she is and who she wants to be, and saying yes to stuff to figure that out, right? Well, this particular reflection, part 2 of 2, is about losing yourself happens one no at a time, right? So this was a quote that she said in the book that really kind of stuck to me in particular. And here's the funny thing, and we've talked about this many, many times, right? We're social creatures and we want to please other people. To do that, we often say yes to whatever, to belong, to feel like you're a part of the tribe, right? If the tribe needs something, the 10% B of us kicks in and we want to be helpful, we want to do whatever. But here's the thing that you and I both know, we talked about this ad nauseum over the past couple of years now. Every decision has a compound effect no matter what. So every single time that you say yes to somebody else's values and yes to somebody else's objectives and goals and whatever they want you to do, it has a lot of downstream effects. And I put an example of, it's even something as simple as saying yes to a job you don't want to do. You end up finding yourself saying yes to values that aren't yours that you have to adopt by this company. And then you find yourself saying yes to your team and working 90 hours a week because you don't want to let your boss down and your teammates down. And then you find yourself saying yes to having to come home stressed and never have any time for yourself to work out or eat right or whatever. So you come home and you're feeling shitty and out of shape and, and then your marriage starts to get strained. You never have any time for your kids. Anyway, it's like a compound effect of like, when you say yes to stuff that you don't want to do, it never really results in what we think. We think we're doing the right thing by belonging to the tribe and saying yes and doing our due diligence or doing our part to help the greater good. But really snowball effects and compound effect, like down the road where you find yourself being miserable and you're like staring up and looking in the mirror and you're like, who the hell is this person? Like, I don't want to be this. Like, I don't want to do this. This isn't who I want to be. So on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, though, that's where the irony of all this comes into play. People think that by saying yes to yourself, you're being selfish, right? Like you're, oh God, like all you do is care about yourself and all you do is to think about what matters to you the most, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, like that's the weird thing that you and I think have discovered through this whole entire journey is like the more that it is selfish, but it's selfish for like the selfish gene kind of reasons, right? Because if you can take care of yourself and you do the things that you love to do, you show up, the compound effect happens in both ways. Then all of a sudden you find yourself with more energy, you're eating the cake, you're loving what you're doing, you're enthusiastic when the things you do, people see that and they're attracted to that and they're like, oh, I want to go be a part of that person's life. And all of a sudden you find yourself doing more and more of the stuff that you love to do, and then more and more of the people that that you end up, being around and attract into your life, like are the people that you want to, that you would want to be around doing the stuff that you like to do. And down the road, like you're a completely different, happy, healthy person, that you're doing exactly what you want to do, and you're contributing more to that tribe you wanted to belong to so badly all along. So it all starts with, as like Shonda said, losing yourself happens one no at a time. You say no to yourself, it's a slippery slope. Every single time you keep saying no to yourself and no to your values, no to your purpose, and no to your mission, slowly but surely over time, you will look up and you'll stare at yourself in the mirror, and you'll find yourself where she was, where she's like, I feel like I'm living a life that everybody would be envious of. I'm a hit writer, multi-bajillionaire, famous, have Oprah calling me every day, and Barack Obama or Michelle Obama on speed dial talking about whatever my next project is, like all these things where you think that these people are really happy. And then all of a sudden you look up and you've been saying yes to everybody else and no to yourself for so long, and you don't even recognize who you are anymore. And that was kind of her big epiphany in this whole entire thing. And for me, it was a great reminder to, like, it's really hard to say yes to yourself. I know that sounds weird, but it's like people just think that it's not right. They're like, oh, well, that's just being selfish. And you're like, no, it's being selfish to say no to yourself. It doesn't help anybody, like that doesn't help anybody. It might for the short term, but the long term, it just adds to everybody's misery and collective, you don't really actually help people. So it's the anti-selfish, by saying no to yourself all the time. So that was kind of the reflection for the night. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Well, I agree. I mean, it's the same thing we're talking about before. It's like when you say yes, you also say no.
Every
right?
decision has a decision.
If I say yes to a job, then I say no to other jobs. If I say
Right.
yes to a meeting, then I can meet other people. Right?
Yep.
When you say yes, you also say no. The question is that it's not about the selfish, right? We are selfish, and everybody knows that. And the selfish wants to get in return, so they trying to help people say, hey, I do these things. Eventually, I get a payback. I get a kickback, whatever. You're still doing selfish. You're just doing it the wrong way.
Right.
In terms of you're not doing it in a way that has a reference point. You don't have any reference. You just say, well, oh, this sounds good. I'll take it. Like every job you have, well, it sounds good because they pay, right? But maybe you didn't like the kind of work, or maybe you didn't like the location. Maybe there's something that say, well, it pays good, but it's in Alaska, right? Well, I don't like the cold, but it pays good. So because it's not the right fit, but it sounds good enough. So you took that job when the other job has a perfectly aligned with everything, meaning money, location, people, the kind of work aligns. Well, you're already taken. You already had a whatever you need to engage in. You're engaged in it. So you're saying no to this thing. So it's important to figure out what you're saying no to and when you say yes to. Because you say yes, you say no. When you say no, you say yes. When I say no to a project, let's say we say no to one of your ideas, we are leaving room for the idea that comes and it's going to be the perfect match.
Your magical earnings, right? Yeah,
exactly. Because the thing is, if we were to do, the other, pickleball stuff or whatever else, we're not doing this podcasting. This won't exist if we say yes to something else. So go back to what we're saying is there are things that you are made for. There are things that drives you. Say yes to those things. Say no to other things. So when people say, you're selfish if you don't say yes to me or whatever, say, hey, True, can I have 5 minutes of your time? I say no. It doesn't align, because the thing is, it's not fair that I say yes to you and I say no to someone else, right? I'm not being selfish, because well, how are you more interconnected with me than someone else, right? So it has to be a two-way street, meaning that whatever I do with you has to have the alignment of my core value and desire in what I want to achieve. Because if I say yes to you, that means whoever has a more fitting, meaningful relationship, I have to say no to all of them. I mean, there are, like, I say one yes, I say no to thousands, right? And so it's very important to understand their priorities. Does the priority aligns with you? Does the thing that you have to intake, is that cake or is that something else? Because
Right.
hey, I'm not eating cake, right? You don't eat cake, then there's thousand things you can eat. You can eat the frog, you eat rocks.
Right.
You can eat leaves, you can eat
We're
dirt.
we're an
Right?
omnivore. It's the omnivore's dilemma, right?
I say I just wanna save my room in my stomach for the cake. So I'm going to
Right.
find cake, right? I'm gonna say, well, where's the cake? I'm saying there's the cake. Yeah. Is there like, hey, is there like, leaves around? Oh, but can I eat these leaves? Maybe I can eat leaves, right? But if I, yeah, it's not bad. It's not
That's
the
called lettuce.
frog.
Right.
It's called salad.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not bad. But the thing is, say, hey, it's good enough, right? The thing is, if you have given it your time and focus, then that's the thing you should do. That's what we're saying before is when it's a lot when would be the first time you need to fire somebody, right? I asked you this
Right.
yesterday. It's the first time you think about it. I asked the follow-up question is, when would be the first time you need to quit your 30 days challenge? If you have to cheat.
I do the 30-day challenge because challenging myself is one of my core values. So it's never, and I never want to quit it. When's the time that I know that it doesn't fit and I don't
No,
want
it's not to
to?
me. So
It's
that's
the
why
time.
I disagree with you on the word quit.
Well,
Quit means like you doing something, but when you endure something, is you never quit on things that's important to you. The
agreed.
thing I'm asking you, if you think about something and you say, I'm going to do a challenge, I'm not going to give up chocolate or coffee or whatever. Let's say you do give up chocolate, right? And then you say, well, I cheat occasionally on Sunday. Well, the thing is, if the moment you think about cheating, then that isn't what you're supposed to do. You need to say, well, can I do something that continue to give me this
Right.
joy? I need it. I need it because it's like drinking water. When you're thirsty, you want water, right? When you
Right.
have
Yeah.
enough, you stop. But then you get thirsty again. Just like when you play tennis, right? Let's say I'm play
I
every
mean,
day,
I
three
hurt
matches,
myself. Yeah.
3 matches a day for 7 days, so that I can't play for the next 3 months.
I, it,
Even if you do that 7 days, right? Like a month from now, you're gonna say,
oh,
"Well,
I'd
I
so
miss it. I miss it,"
I,
right?
I wouldn't be able to stop. If anything, I would just hurt myself, and then I would have kept playing hurt, and it would have been
But
worse
but,
and worse and
but
worse.
the point is because when you have an activity that aligns with you, you're gonna want that constantly in a certain cadence. Like let's say
Right.
like food, for example. You need food in a certain cadence. Water. You need water in a certain cadence. Hey, I'm thirsty. I'm gonna drink it, and I'm
Right.
I'm satisfied. And then after a while, it's gonna be used up, and then you're gonna thirst again. You can continue on. It's not something that hey, you do something, and then eventually you say, well, I don't want to continue doing it. If you have to think about it, that tells you that the alignment isn't really aligned. I told you about the machines where you put quarters in, right? You can actually put a dime in there. It will fit, but it's
Right.
not the right fit. It's not a quarter. It's not
Right.
designed for the dime. It's not designed for the nickel. It still would fit. That's what I'm saying. Certain things like, hey, I'm waiting for cake, but maybe a croissant comes by. Close enough. But the moment you eat the
Is
croissant,
it chocolate covered?
it could be chocolate covered, but
All
still,
right. Well, all right. Then that's
I
good
mean,
enough.
it's good enough. But
Right.
the point is, it's up to you. You say, well,
Right.
is croissant good enough, and you take it. But the point is, you say yes to the croissant. You have to say no to the chocolate cake
Right.
that you really want it when it comes by. And
Right.
that's my point. Is you need to save the space for what matters to you. So you
Right.
need to say no to the
Well,
people that doesn't give you alignment, and that's not selfish because you are saying no to someone else in that regard. Just say that, hey, I have time with your wife versus time with True, right? That's no comparison. Whenever you need to go walk with your wife, I want that time. You're
right.
selfish for not giving me that time, right? You think about it. I mean, the way I put it, it
Right.
sounds obviously absurd when I ask for that, right?
Of course. No.
Because
So the,
because it's not
well,
that I'm not giving it. It's that I have something more purposeful that I'm waiting for. That's to
yeah.
me,
That's the
I mean, you
that's
can
the point.
respect that,
Right.
right?
It's not just you respect that. People are drawn to that. They go, oh, well, that person knows what they want. And then like it's the irony of all ironies is like
But at the
the
same
person
time,
that's always
when
trying to
the
please other
person is
people.
very strict with that time, and when they give it to you, it means something.
I'm saying like the people that are people pleasers, like you always know will say, yes to whatever you want. Like eventually they just get abused and then they look around and they're like, why does everybody always take advantage of me? And you're like, well, because
Because you train me to expect it.
Right, exactly.
I
And the
mean,
opposite side of the
I mean,
perspective
if
is
you
like,
give, I'm surprised. You give me
right,
twice, I expect a third, right? You give me a third, and then by the time the fifth comes, saying, "Well, why didn't you give it to me? You're missing. Hey, on the fifth day, you didn't give it to me. I feel entitled. I feel entitled to it. You think about it, right? If I give you something, let's say I give you, $1,000, and then I say, "Oh, cool, true," and then, right? That's a surprise. It's unexpected. But I
right.
give you a second time, say, well, if you give me a second time, I'm expecting a
Like,
third,
well, my aunt
right?
always brings me $1,000 for my birthday, and like all of a sudden she
Then
didn't,
you
and you're like,
expect,
what the fuck, lady?
hey, she's cheap.
Right,
It's like, just because all the thousands to give you, you don't
right,
count that. You count the moment she didn't give to you, and versus somebody who never gives you anything. That person's better than your aunt who give you
right.
$1,000.
Because they're like, oh my god, my grandpa gave me a lollipop, and like that was the most amazing thing ever. No, you're totally right. You're spot on. We train the people around us with, like, when you say yes to yourself. Like, my wife knows I'm coming up here at 8:30 at night. She knows what I'm going to do in the morning. When I wake up, I'm going to go read a book. I'm going to go on a run, and I'm going to write some stuff. I'm going to take care of my son and all the other stuff that needs to be taken care of. But at the same time, that's my priorities. My priorities aren't you. My priorities are my daughter and living for two and the stuff that we do. And right now, my priorities are this. A few times a week, my priorities are tennis. And the rest of the time, you can ask me what you want. If you need something, just ask. And I'm here. I'm fine. But when there are things that I'm going to do, I'm gonna fucking do it. Like, I don't care any ill will about it, because I'm still a 90% chimp. I still got to do my meaningful work. One of my wife's best friends, her name's Brittany, and I love her to death, but she spent her entire life being 90% B and 10% chimp. Like, it pains me to watch because she will do anything and everything for everybody around her. I just want to, like, grab her and be like, do it for yourself. I love it that you will always take care of us and be the person that does this stuff, but I don't want you to. I don't need your help. I'm good. I almost want to be like, no, stop and go focus on yourself. It is a repellent to me when people are 90% B to me, because I'm like, I'm a fucking chimp. Like, I'm not a B. I got a little B in me, and I love that you're around me, and I love that you care about me, but I got to be a chimp, leave me alone and let me go do me for what I need to go do. And then I'll come back and I'll be my 10% B when you need me to be. I don't want to be dependent on somebody else, but I don't want to not have them in my life. You know what I mean? That dynamic is what attracts other humans, in my opinion. You're just doing what you like to do. And the thing is, when you walk a particular path, you find other people that walk that same path. And then
Because
all of a sudden, you're all walking the path together.
yeah, I mean, you basically train people to expect certain things from you.
Right.
If you say, well, I'm this kind of person, right? And then they expect that behavior. But if that behavior is not eating cake for you, right? You are
Tortures.
using up your self-discipline, your willpower to put on this display for people. And then when you exhaust your willpower,
You just
say,
collapse
what the
at
hell?
home. Yeah.
Right? Right? You stress out for yourself, and then you got people start to jab at you, right? Right? They ding you, say, hey, why do you stop sending me $1,000? It's
Right.
like, this lady, it doesn't matter. I don't like her anymore. You think about it. I mean, it's just absurd how our brains work, but that's how our brain works. But the thing is, if you say, well, I am who I am, you like it, you like it, you don't like it, you don't like it. Because the thing is, if I am this person, this certain type of people will like me, right? And there's certain type of people who will hate me. If I pretend to be something that you like, well, there's certain type of people here that's gonna like me, but the other side,
that's not
there's
true.
some people are gonna hate me because
but that's because eventually those same people that it might work for a little bit, but eventually they're going to be like, this person,
they like you, but they'll hate you when you cannot, because if you break the
when you can't live
expectation,
for them.
because that's what I'm saying is, if you pretend to be somebody, you cannot be self-driven. You have to use willpower to have that
Right.
facade.
And eventually
And so the moment you slip up is when they don't like you anymore. Just like your aunt.
Right.
She give you $1,000, right? And you say, she didn't give me, she giving you for like 900 times, right? And then the one time she missed or whatever, she had more money. You turn away. This lady, right? It's so cheap. She didn't give me any money, any present. But that's the point. Is I'm exaggerating to make a point, but that's how people think. But the thing is, if you do what you do, it gives you energy. I mean, you have positive energy when you can maintain the expectation, right? People are gonna be like, hey, that's Chris. It doesn't matter. I mean, they don't change. I expect that, so I'm not gonna hate him.
That's the key.
right?
Is it maintainable? Is it sustainable?
It's sustainable. I mean, go back to sustainability and balance, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so if you pretend, then it's going to end.
It's not sustainable. I was talking to one of my employees about this today because I asked them all. I told you, like, I start off every one of our one-on-ones for the past couple months with, like, how's your balance? And one of them was like, today, he was like, I'm an 8, I'm feeling good. And he goes, I'm just curious, Chris. He was like, does anybody, are there people that say they're 10? And I go, I hope not. Like, that's because that's like not balanced. You can't be extremes. Then we went into this whole long conversation around why, like, sustainability around like 7 to 8 range is like, kind of the ideal for me in particular. I don't know if that's right or not, but these are just subjective numbers and an ideology. But like the whole point is to like try to stay, not I know we all understand the black swan and we all understand that the extremes are what happened, but like every single day of my life, I want to have a good day. Like I can control that, and to a certain level of extent, if I'm doing the stuff that I want to do. If every day I'm swinging wildly back and forth, when I told you about one of my employees a couple of weeks ago that that asked her that question, and she was like, I'm feeling good. I'm like a 4, or like a 5 or whatever. And I go, what do you mean you're doing good? She was like, yeah, I'm not pulling my hair out this week. I'm not totally stressed out. I'm only like partially stressed. That doesn't sound fun. I'm like, this, I was like, what are you talking about? And came to find out, talk about somebody that can't say no. That's what I'm working on with her at this stage. She says yes to everybody because she wants to help everybody. And I'm like, and she's amazing. And it's so sad to see because she's such a giving person.
But if you say yes, you're selfish.
Exactly.
I mean, it's counterintuitive, but you're selfish when you say yes because you're denying someone something.
You're denying the other person the ability to learn to go do this shit on their own too. Right? Like when everybody comes to this person for help because she's such a nice person and she will always help, and she's smart and she knows how to help and she knows how to solve people's problems. And I love her for that. But I keep telling her, like, you have to say no to these people. They will continue to reach out to you every single day. When we have our team meetings at the end of the day, it's always like, we talk about our gratitude or whatever. So many times it's like, I'm grateful for this person, and because they're always there to help me whenever I need them. Like, that's nice, but it's also a crutch. When I talk to her, she's a 4, because she's got so many other things that she's saying yes to that she can't ever say yes to herself and the stuff that she really wants to do. That's actually her monthly challenge this month, to say fucking no to everybody other than the stuff that she wants to do, right? And it's so hard. I mean, it's no different than you and I when we were talking about do no harm, right? Like, with the whole antibiotics thing with my son, it's so hard to not want to help people. It's so hard if you ran for political office to say, I'm not going to do shit. Like, I mean, it's probably in our all best interest if I don't do anything. I promise you, if we look back in 50 years and you guys say, well, Chris didn't do shit when he was in office, and that was a good thing, but that's not how it works. You come running to any politician with,
if you 99% of the chance you can do something bad.
The bees in California aren't able to get enough honey out this season, and like the weather is bad, like, you need to do something. And they're like, well, shit, the bees do matter. I like the bees. Like, the bees are important, like, and we need honey, and then they need to pollinate, like, and, we need to enact some sweeping legislation to go, like, make sure we protect the bees or whatever the fuck it is. Like we always think this was real shit. Like, I mean, this was like real legislation that people, like, I remember reading about this at one point in time where like politicians are like having debates about like the bee population, about what legislation we should put to protect the bees. And I'm like, what the fuck do you guys know about bees? Like, what the fuck are we even talking about at this point in time? But it's so hard for people when they come to you with the problem to say no, like, because like but to your whole point of what you were saying is like, every time you say yes to helping their problems, you walk a little bit further away from what matters to you, and that gap grows and grows and grows, and all of a sudden you find yourself when you're talking to your boss and you're like, I'm a 4, I feel good, and you're like,
It reminds me of the time when you tell me about your panic attack, when you go to the doctor and you ask the doctor, hey, make this pain go away, and the doctor say, I'm legally to give you, but I'm going to say no. I will give you something else. Hey, have you thought about your relationship with God lately, right? He is essentially saying no to you.
Right.
Right? But because if he say yes, which is he give you prescription for Zoloft or whatever, right?
Xanax, yeah.
Xanax, right? That's the thing is, to say no is to say yes, and to say yes is to say no. There are so many layers that you have to be looking for and making sure that It's not about saying yes. It's not about saying no. It's about saying yes to the right thing and saying no to the wrong thing. That's
Exactly.
because it's not as simple as a yes or a no. Because when you say yes, you're saying no. When you say no, you're saying yes. How do I decipher which is the right one?
It's your values.
You know?
I mean, it's your
So
mission, it's your purpose, it's your values. Like that's the filter. You go, is this a line? Or this is not a line. And if it doesn't, you don't do it. Like, yeah, I
right,
mean, that's it. Like,
you have this what I actually call like a decision framework, right? You know,
right.
what are your core values? This is a line. This is, you know, just like you and I keep talking about any idea that comes through, right? We go through this framework. Are we in company? Does it reflect? Like, for example, one of the thing that you would ask, you know, what would Amelia do? It's one of the question inside the framework. And then
Right.
you would ask, hey, would Amelia do this? And then if it doesn't check, right, then it kind of filters out. But if it checks, then it goes to the next one. Are these core values aligned with the other core values? And so there's
Right.
this framework of decisions you can make. And so you can say, well, I'm going to devote my focus and time onto this thing where it matches most of my core values or
Right.
framework, whatever it is you want. But in order to have this decision framework or the matrix, you have to understand, you know, what do you value, right? Most people don't stop and ask themselves what they value in terms of really what they value versus what people think I should
what
value.
other people value. Yeah, right, exactly. Like that is the crux of the problem, right? That is everything. Because, like, you know, if you value like human connection and relationships, we all do, we're social creatures, like that's going to be your default every single time. You're never going to want to ever see somebody in pain and not do something. You're never want to ever see somebody that's asking for help and not try to help, right?
You're sick, right? If you're sick, right, and you're sick, and I'm not a doctor, and even if I'm not a doctor, I have
Right.
no idea what you're going through. I'm gonna give you some drugs. What's the chances of me messing you up more than fixing you?
Probably massive.
99%. And
Right.
99%. Because the thing
Right.
is, that's something, if you think about it, what I do to you, I'm going to make it worse. More likely than not, right?
Probably.
So when you say no to that person for the help, you're actually helping him. Because unless you know, you really know this symptoms, this conditions, this whatever that I've seen before, like I'm very, very confident, high percent confident that it's this. I may give you a test, make sure that it actually works. But if I say,
Right.
well, just like you're talking about George Washington, right? How did he die? Bloodletting.
Yeah.
The doctor is trying to heal him of his sickness, but because of his treatment, he died because of that. Everybody know about bloodletting, right?
Yeah, it's screwed up. I mean, it was talking
It's
about
like
adrenal.
when you're sick, right? Back in the
pouring
old
blood
day
out of you.
when you're sick, they just draw blood out of you, but just blood let out, right? And so that's the treatment. And George Washington, the first president of the United States, he died because the doctor trying to treat him.
Took
If
too
the
much
doctor
blood out,
say
yeah.
no, he would have been, you know, he would have died
Maybe.
from that, right?
Maybe.
Well, the thing is, you put a nail in the coffin. That's
right,
what you
yeah.
do, right? And so the more you try without understanding the matrix, the decision
dude, I struggle.
framework, right?
I really struggle with this one. Like this
But
is something that I struggle with, the balance between action, because you can't really understand these lessons without learning first, and you learn through action and then reflection, right?
But
So,
there
like,
are certain lessons are too, because I'm talking about
that's
if
true.
for example, if Luca has a allergic reaction to certain thing, and you think you know, and you give to him, right? Let's say he's allergic to the chemicals inside the drug or some kind of food, and you give to him and say, let's say I read on the internet ginger will help you with the fight infection or whatever, and you give him ginger, for example, and he may die from it. Or maybe you give peanut butter to a baby. You think about it.
I don't know. I mean, is that bad? I've never tried to give peanut butter.
Yeah, you don't give peanut butter to the baby.
Is that because they can't swallow it or something?
Yeah.
They can't.
So
you mean a baby with how young of a baby?
3 months.
You mean like they don't have teeth or anything to chew it, or
right? Because it choked them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that makes
but
sense.
I'm talking about the point is you don't know, because like for example, it's a perfect example when we talk about Luca and antibiotics, right? Yeah. You don't know that he needs it,
right?
But because
I don't know that he doesn't need it.
But when you don't know, do nothing actually helping him. If you do something, you actually have more chances of harming him and make it
I
worse.
agree.
Certain lessons are too steep of a price to pay.
It is
Some
so
lessons
hard.
are you cannot redo it. It's
It
just
is.
once and done kind of a lesson. And
It is just so
these
hard
will
though.
change you. But that's what I'm saying is when you
Saying
kind
no
of
might
like
be the hardest thing that we have in our entire. Saying no to somebody else in help in need that is asking for help, or not even asking for help, but just saying no to somebody else.
because I mean, this is real though, because you think about it, if your son has a high fever and you have Tylenol or ibuprofen and you took them because it helps, but maybe it's not supposed you're not supposed to give it to Luca, right? What do you do? What do you do?
Go
Right?
to the
So
emergency
that
room.
exactly, you have to give it to professional. Don't give them medication.
Right.
So the thing is, you're never trying to do anything that has any kind of a chance. You don't take a chance, right? You want to make as much sure as possible, and
Right.
that's why some mistakes are too steep of a price to pay.
For
So careful with that.
for very serious decisions, or I don't know, maybe if you rated your decision scale on a 1 to 10, if it was anything a 7 or above, do no harm for sure. Anything below that, like in my opinion, try it out, see what happens. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? You'll learn. That's the curiosity in me. I'm cool with that. But anything that comes
But
to a decision,
then the question comes is, how do you rank the decision from 1 to 10?
I
Okay, you
mean,
think, hey, a 10 is critical, but in reality, it might not be critical. And then one, you say,
well,
hey,
that's a
it's
different
harmless.
definition for everybody too. I mean,
Right.
because my wife may have thought it was critical to, for him just watching him suffer for 2 weeks straight with a sinus infection or whatever the hell he was going through in his ear, in his eyes, and whatever. Like, for her, that may have been a 10. One of my employees recently had a brother that he's really young. He's like in his early 20s or something like that, that had like a heart issue, and he had to go to the hospital. And he was like, I was terrified. My brother, he's from another country. They were both in America, helping each other out. They live by themselves. That's like his best friend. And he was like, my little brother almost, I thought he was dying. He's in the hospital right now. And these are things where you don't know, like, to him, that's a 10, right? Like, to him right now,
Right.
that's a 10.
It's a 10.
To help his brother, he would do it. And if somebody said to do it, he would do it. You said this for yourself with your diabetes. If somebody, your pain was a 10, and if somebody came to you and they said, hey, True, I could take away your pain, you'd go, oh, okay. Or if a loved one, if your wife came to you and said, hey, True, I've been researching on the internet, this will help, like, I promise, like, just trust me, I want to help you to take away your pain. You would listen to your wife. I would almost guarantee it, right? At that point in time.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, a lot of people give me a lot of advice over the years, and most of them, it's basically make my conditions worse. Because the thing is, I'm saying if this is what I keep saying to people, don't give me advice unless I have diabetes.
That's true.
Right? All these healthy people is telling me, oh, you eat this, or eat that, you drink this, you drink that, I take this, you take that. It's like, do you have diabetes? No.
Then shut the fuck
sorry.
up.
It's like, you have no idea.
Right.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but I know you were trying to help, and I know you have good intentions, but you are not helping. You're making my conditions worse. I mean, I listen to my mom, my aunt, my mother-in-law, all the people around me, and that I tried everything because they told me to do all this stuff, from Western medicine to Eastern medicines to who knows what. I've done it, and all that is makes my condition worse, not better. That's what I'm saying is, you do not take advice from somebody who doesn't know when they don't have the condition. They couldn't possibly know. They could
Agreed.
not. When they see me suffer, they want to help, and they give all the advice they could. It's human nature to want to reach out and alleviate the suffering. And that's in our DNA. We are compelled to do that. Same thing with you and Luca, right? When you see him having snot and stuff, right? You're compelled to do something, but more because you are not medically exposed to the knowledge, you more likely than not, you will choose the wrong decision, the wrong action to do for him. So that's
Right.
why when you get to the point where the decision is that, it's better be safe than sorry. What kind of decisions goes into that kind of bucket, right? Because there's no take back.
Well,
When you do something, there's no
right.
take back. So that's something you say, well, it doesn't matter how much something costs. I'm going to go get an expert opinions on, and you want like multiple, like three, four, five.
Ironically, that's a bad thing though, because they are under a lot of pressure to say, well, the absolute worst thing that can happen is you die. If I need to protect against that 1% chance, then this is what you got to do. And protecting against that 1%, I understand where their fear is coming from, because they're like, I got to protect myself, and make sure that I can do this for the next person. But like, they have that mentality all the time, with a lot of experts, because they have to protect their own shit, right? Like, if that was their own child, the question is, if this was your own child, what would you do? Like, that's a different scenario altogether.
Right.
For a lot of these people, and they can't give you that answer. They will literally say,
yeah, because the thing is, like you were saying before, it's like when you ask them, what I need to do with my child, they give you one answer, and then you ask the second question, what would you do if this was your child? They give you a different answer, right? It's not the same answer. They're this doctor and they have medical knowledge. They give you two different answers depending on the perspectives, right? Because they are, I guess, kind of legally, or
they're legally, like, if they get it wrong, their career is over.
No,
if
they
it's
always
1,001st day turkey,
they will get it wrong. Okay, they will get it wrong, and that's pretty. But the point is, they have a reason. So I give you this because it's the most popular, or the most, seemingly everybody does it. So I'm covered in the mass.
Right.
But the mass most of the time are wrong, right? Because that's what I'm saying is, I give you, let's say you go to the doctor and you give you antibiotics. I'm pretty sure the antibiotic is the same brand name, the same dosage that everybody uses, because that covers their ass. This is cover your butt, right? That's on legal terms. I go to like 20 doctors. They give me the same medications, not different. Same dosage, same medication.
That's why they couldn't give Amelia probiotics when she was in the NICU. They immediately gave her antibiotics because they knew that, in theory, was
because that's what that was accepted by the community. When you have that, you're covered. Because even if it's wrong, everybody does it. I mean, that's the best solution at the moment, right? You can't blame me for it. But if I try something probiotics or something else, well, it's not according to the standard. It's not according to the common remedy that people accepted. So therefore, you take a
George
chance.
Washington's common remedy was bloodletting.
Back then, bloodletting was like very common.
That's what they did.
But that's hindsight in saying, hey,
well, I mean, we're gonna probably, there's gonna be another Chris and True on a
antibiotic. Remember antibiotics? That thing is useless.
Right. They're gonna be like, those motherfuckers used to give antibiotics to everything for everybody. They're just like, oh, here's some antibiotics. Here's some antibiotics.
Well, we kind of get a glimpse of that already with antibiotics in chickens and in cows.
It fucks them up.
I mean, fucks them up and fucks us up
and us up. Like, I mean, bacteria.
So we did get a glimpse of antibiotic, and it works, sort of, right? And that's what I'm saying is, you think about like 100 years from now, another True and Chris is saying, it's so
what idiots doing, like bloodletting.
Antibiotics.
Right. Or honestly, like one of my friends' wives.
And then they're gonna say about chemo and another chemo.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say right now. It's
just pump them with radiation.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ, it's barbaric. One of my good friends' wives is a PA, and she works for a cancer clinic here locally. She said that to me multiple times. And 100 years from now, they're gonna look back at chemotherapy treatments and go, what the fuck were we doing? We're just like destroying people's bodies. We're nuking the insides of people to hopefully kill the right thing that we were trying to kill or whatever.
Not only you nuking people that is sick, you're nuking people that is healthy. You think about when you go to the dentist. You remember that time, back, that's it. Imagine you're like 100 years from now, another True and Christian. You remember back then they used to shoot this X-ray onto your face, like next to your brain, right?
But they put a protector on your. We're all going to be like.
I mean, protect in your chest, and then the guy went to the other side, which to shoot it, right? And it shoots you into your mouth, right, and next to your brain to get a picture of your teeth.
Wild.
Right, you think about it. Hey, what is it? X-ray? It's just radiation. And you think about it.
Right in your face.
chuckle when they talk about this about in 100 years from now. I mean, that's what we do is because it's accepted. That's it. I mean, you're talking about like back in the days, they used to use mercury to do your teeth filling, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, that was like 30 or 40 years ago. It's not that far away. So I'm talking about
I mean,
another 50 years.
I guarantee you, there's a lot of things that I can guarantee you there's a million things that we probably do in our society every single day that are totally accepted cultural norms.
And then and another thing we talk about is back then people used to eat wheat.
Right.
People used to eat wheat.
They used to eat grass. Be like, those motherfuckers didn't just eat grass. They ate like all kinds of grass. They were like, grass connoisseurs. Like, I mean, they ate quinoa, they ate oats, they ate barley, they ate rye, they ate wheat, they ate corn, they ate soy, they ate,
these guys are bottom feeders.
I mean, they're like why are these assholes eating, like, they're just going on a pasture and eating grass? Kind of crazy people are these people.
These guys are animals, cavemen, talking about eating. Like back then, people eat like bark trees and roots and dirt and all that. Now we say, well, we eat this wheat, we eat this corn, we eat this
but they turn it into this really cool breads and pastas and all this other really neat stuff.
Like 100 years from now, everybody's going to be celiacs.
Probably. I mean,
and then they say back 100 years ago, they used to eat wheat, right? They everywhere.
Can you believe that? They ate it every day. They ate it in their foods. They ate it for breakfast. They ate it for lunch. They ate it for dinner. But they paid hundreds and thousands of dollars for it to go out to dinner, and have fine wheat. I think bring it back to center here. I mean, do you have any final thoughts for the night?
No, it's the same thing we say. Your core value is your core values, and you have to say no to whatever that you need, versus saying yes to something that it's important to you, versus saying yes because you expect to say yes.
I agree, and I am, for the rest of my life, I will never say yes. I will try my best to not say yes to anybody else's values that conflict with my own values. Like, if we're going in the same direction all day long, yes, like, that's great, let's do this. If it's a different direction, that is my ultimate challenge in this world, is to figure out how to say yes to the right stuff and no to the wrong stuff, right? And it is not easy. It's fun though, actually. I enjoy it.
But there is the fundamental thing that you need to do.
You need a compass. I mean, you need your
values, which is know thyself.
Right.
Without that,
you got nothing.
You don't have a compass.
You're just
you might
as well just be a bag floating in the wind, like a plastic bag that's just drifting. the wind pushes you that way, and you're like, oh, okay, let's go that way. Let's go that way. Like, yeah, we got to anchor yourself on something, and even if that changes, like, that's fine. But like, try something at least to
know thyself first.
Right.
Then you will know what to say yes to, what to say no to, and no one can help you.
Agreed. That's a good place to end for the night. Thanks everybody for joining, and we look forward to a new book tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
Good night.